Ahoy! It's me. Just came ashore.
From what? A boat?
A ship, Effie, a ship. Anything over 400 gross tons is a ship. Anybody knows that.
Well, may I inquire what was your port of call?
Calcutta.
My, that was a quick trip.
Well, Effie, I'll tell you, I got so homesick for you I couldn't stand it, so I assembled my gear and jumped ship.
Why, Sam, how sweet.
Up fast there, gal. I'll be right down to dictate my report.
You are alive.
Bon voyage, Effie.
I've been worried sick. Where have you been?
On my way to Calcutta, sweetheart, where the dawn comes up like thunder.
Sam, what are you talking about? Calcutta?
And the flying fishes play. Ready, Effie?
Sam, why did you want to go to Calcutta, of all places?
I didn't, Effie. I hate Calcutta. I was Shanghai. To, Mr. Philip J. Fogg, purser, SS Lurene.
How do you spell that, Sam?
Lurene.
Oh, that's pretty. Sam, how could you be shanghaied in this day and age? I mean, isn't it against the law?
Stow it, Effie. You're pumping bilge water.
Sam, I am not.
From Samuel Spade, license number 137596, when you have the time, regarding the Calcutta trunk caper. Dear Mr. Fogg, the following report will explain the enclosed voucher, which is a claim against your company for the amount of $500 and no cents. It will also answer any questions you might be asked concerning the recent unpleasantness on board your ship. It all started yesterday morning in San Francisco when my secretary announced briefly and caustically that there was a lady outside who wanted to talk to me. I judged that she was worth talking to. She was.
Your secretary let me in.
Well, I'm glad she did. What can I do for you?
I'm Marcia Hopkins.
I see.
Mrs. Marcia Hopkins.
I see.
However, my husband is dead.
I see.
It's about my sister that I've come to you, Mr. Spade. I'm dreadfully worried about her.
Who's your sister?
Miss Constance Pendleton. And she's become involved with a ne'er-do-well, a completely worthless scoundrel, and a real foreign bluebeard.
All three?
It's one man, Mr. Spade, a Bulgarian, Major Andrea Rodnik. They're going to be married this afternoon, and I'm positive that his only interest is in her money. I'm convinced that he's going to kill her soon after the ceremony. He's done it to other wives in Europe. I've warned Constance and pleaded with her, done everything I could to stop it. But she's completely infatuated with him and refuses to listen to me.
Mm-hmm. What do you want me to do?
Prevent the marriage if you can. Get the truth about Rodnik's background and face Constance with it. Oh, Mr. Spade, in some way you've got to make her realize the seriousness of the situation. He's a ruthless character.
Well, do what I can, Mrs. Hopkins.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Spade. Oh, I've felt so alone and helpless until now.
Oh, really?
But you will do everything you can, won't you? We've got to save her life.
She daubed at her eyes with a stamp-sized handkerchief, patted the red gold hair of the temples nervously, smiled at me bravely, and swayed out. By telephone, I learned that the Vrodnik-Pendleton marriage license had been issued 4 days before, and that on the same day, Constance Pendleton had withdrawn a savings account to the tune of $45,000. I'd always wanted to, so I did it. I called at the Bulgarian consulate.
What can I do on you?
What do you know about Major Andrea Vrodnik?
Ha! Andrea Vrodnik! On him we have hate, great sadness, with shame for the ground that walked under him.
Oh?
Ha! Andrea Vrodnik!
Why is he so popular?
On the devil he is driven without horns. 6 women he has killed. 6 times he has insulted the police of Europe by refusing to confess. We have proof of the murders, but never can we prove the proof on him.
Yeah, sometimes it goes that way.
Ha! Never do we find the bodies of the 6 women. Only their money in the name of Andrea Vrodnik. My pardon.
Well, think nothing of it. You're just upset on you.
You're interested on him. Why? You go to Europe?
No, Vrodnik comes here.
Ah, here on San Francisco. He marries again.
So I'm told.
Ah, Oh, by all the means, you must prevent it. Go to him, brave man. You do the world a service. Make violence on him. Even do you hang for it. Your name will live.
With those valiant words goading me on, I left. The farther I got into the caper, the more it looked as if Marcia's fears for Constance Pendleton were very real and very well-founded. When Constance opened the door of her hotel suite, I could see 3 trunks and a number of smaller pieces of luggage, all locked and ready to be taken out.
Yes?
You're Constance Pendleton?
Yes?
I'm a detective. My name is Spade.
Detective? What do you want?
I want to talk to you about that Bluebeard you're going to marry.
Get out of here.
You listen, I'll talk, and then I'll get out of here. I just left the Bulgarian consulate. Vrodnik has been accused of the murders of 6 women in Europe. Each of them were wealthy. Each of them married him, and each time Vrodnik came into all their money.
Are you trying to blackmail me because of the lies about my fiancé's past? If you are, you're wasting your time.
Well, no matter what I'm doing, I'm wasting my time. But to put you straight, your sister hired me, and I am now resigning. She's worried about you, not me.
Then you should spend more time investigating your clients, Mr. Spade. You could have saved both of us some time. I have no sister. This is my wedding day. Goodbye, Mr. Spade.
As I left the room, I maintained the stern facial expression I reserve for moments of great shock. But once outside the door, I allowed myself to be carried on the wave of rage and embarrassment for just a minute, and I kicked over 2 potted palms. As I limped down the corridor, I was overtaken by none other than Marcia Hopkins.
Did you see her?
Let's talk about you first.
Did you stop the marriage?
Why did you really want that marriage stopped?
But I told you.
You told me you were her sister.
Oh.
She said she didn't have any sister.
All right, Sam, I did lie to you about that. But I'll tell you who I really am.
I don't want to know who you are. I don't ever want to know. All I want from you is my honestly earned fee and a brief but permanent goodbye.
Oh, no, Sam, please listen to me. We've got to save that girl. I have $500. That's all I have. Would it be enough?
What's your real name?
Marshal Brodnick. Yes, he's my husband. I've been married to him for 10 years. We've traveled all over Europe, and I never knew where the money was coming from. He left me at times for 2 weeks or a month, and then when he'd come back, there'd be more money. I just realized that that's when he must have been killing those poor women. And I know that's what he's going to do this time. I just can't stand it. You've got to protect her.
That should be easy. We'll let him get married and meet him at the door with a bigamy warrant.
Then you will see me through this.
I might.
Oh. In my bag, there's $500. Take it. If we can't stop the marriage, then don't let him out of your sight. Not even for a minute. He's a beast, Sam. A beast.
Marcia dropped me in front of the Beast's Hotel, and I climbed some fake marble steps to the 2nd floor and knocked at his door. The man who opened it was heavy, handsome in a swarthy, coarse sort of a way, and glowing conceit through 2 eyes, one monocled, one not.
You are facing Major Andrei Vrodnik, 1st Bulgarian Horse. What want you?
You were facing Saul Fox of the law firm of Fox, Smedley, Van Dusen, and Grip.
You overwhelmed yourself.
I came here to warn you. If you go through with the marriage to Constance Pendleton, you're going to find yourself tangled with civil law.
Warn Andrei Vrodnik, who has personally led more saber charges than you have teeth in your skull.
Yes.
Who has personally split, slashed, and impaled on his own blade more men than you have fingers and toes. You warn me? What is this talk?
You're going to have a bigamy charge slapped on you 5 minutes after you slip her the ring. The warrant signed by Mrs. Marcia Vrodnik.
Bigamy? Ha! I laugh. This is not bigamy.
Marcia's your wife, isn't she?
That bigamy was committed when I married her. I had another wife then. You call yourself a lawyer, then you know that only the 2nd marriage is bigamy. The ones following that are nothing but interludes.
Okay, Major, go ahead and have your interlude. I'm just warning you.
Oh, speaks. We are being married on Redwood City from a justice of the peace 1 hour previous. Then we are sailing through the SS Lurin at midnight with our honeymoon. Already a droshky waits for the baggage and luggage. Go now before I'm losing my temper. If you're ever in Calcutta, look me up. Da!
I could see the direct approach was getting me nowhere, so I decided to proceed by stealth. I waited outside the building, and when he left, I tailed him. He made 4 stops at a second-hand store, a hardware store, a surgical supply house, and an undertaker supply house. At these places, he purchased the following items: an oversized steamer trunk, black with brass fittings, a large ball of rope twine, 2 large lead sash weights, a set of surgical instruments, and at the 4th and final stop, the undertaking supply, he bought 2 items: a 20-foot length of rubber tubing and a pump. He returned to the second-hand store with his other purchases, put them inside the trunk, and ordered it sent up to Constance's hotel immediately, and thereupon it took himself to the same place. Marcia was waiting in the empty lobby when he went in. I crouched behind a pillar, turned up my hearing aid, and listened.
Did you get the thing?
Yeah. Now listen, my darling. We must work fast. As soon as the trunk arrives, before she has a chance to get to the telephone.
Yes, Andrea, but please, no cutting in the apartment.
As you wish, my darling. Now, you know what you have to do. While I'm getting her into the trunk, you'll change her clothes, put on her traveling dress, the hat with the wet...
What is it? What's the matter?
Nothing. Come, we must make haste.
They made haste to the elevators, and I made haste to the row of house telephone booths around the corner and called Constance's room.
Hello?
Mrs. Rodnick?
Speaking.
Listen, get out of that room right away. Don't take the elevator. Go down the stairs.
Who is this? What are you talking about?
I haven't got time to explain, and you haven't got time to listen. All those stories about your husband are true. He's going...
Hello? Are you still on the line?
My hand clawed out to the door handle, but I couldn't reach it. I felt as if the walls were closing in around me, and just before it got dark, I had the crazy notion that I was inside Brodnick's big black trunk with the brass fittings. I could still hear Constance's voice way off in the distance, somewhere in the direction of Calcutta. I tried to shout to her, to warn her, and then the lid closed over me. I shook my head trying to get the bells out of it. Then I remembered where I was and what had happened. I was still wedged into the bottom of a phone booth where I'd slumped when Brodnick sapped me. I got out of there somehow and grabbed a taxi for the Embarcadero. The time was 11:55. The SS Lorraine was scheduled to sail at midnight. I was no sooner across it than they hauled up the gangplank and the ship started moving out of the berth. I didn't know where she was bound for, and I didn't much care. I checked the passenger list and found that Major and Mrs. Andrea Brodnick were in stateroom 12, A deck. 1 minute later, I was hammering on the door of stateroom 12. The woman in Brodnick's stateroom was Constance, and she was not in a trunk.
I thought I told you to stop interfering in our affairs.
Yeah, your husband told me to, but I didn't like the way he did it.
Get out from here. Get out.
I see you got your trunk in here where it's handy. Doesn't it make the stateroom kind of crowded?
Why don't you give up, Mr. Spade? 2 times already. You are twice a fool. Marcia has no money to pay you. Neither have I, even if she had a case. And believe me, she has
Oh,
not.
why do you even bother talking to him, Andre? Mr. Spade, will you go now, or will I have to call the steward and make a complaint against you?
I went. I still thought Marcia Hopkins was somewhere on that ship. I still didn't like the look of that trunk. I found the purser's office and went in. You looked at me as if you thought I was a stowaway, Mr. Fogg, and you were right.
I'll have to make arrangements for you to ride back with a pilot, Mr. Spade. You realize, of course, that you're subject to a fine.
Look, I don't want to do anything illegal. You know, it was just an impulsive thing. Couldn't I book a passage?
Oh, there's the matter of your passport. We could arrange your visa and so on in San Pedro. We'll put in there in the morning.
Well, that's good enough. How much is the fare?
Oh, let me see. That's $483.87, exclusive of tax.
Oh, hey, now, wait, I wasn't thinking of taking quite such an extensive voyage, you know. I just wanted to get a little sea air, and... how much to Pedro?
I'm afraid you don't understand, Mr. Spade. This is not a coastwise steamer. Our first official port of call is Calcutta.
Yeah, I know, but... Calcutta?
That's in India.
Well, don't you have something a little less expensive, like steerage or...
There is only one stateroom available, number 14A deck. Take it or leave it.
Okay, Calcutta. After buying my passage to Calcutta, I had exactly 12 cents left. This I gave to the steward who showed me to my stateroom. He thanked me, kicked me in the shins, and left. Out on deck, a tall, red-nosed old gentleman in knickerbockers and a yachting cap was taking a turn around the deck. With him was a face I'd seen in the morning lineup down at the Hall of Justice a dozen times. He was a hotel thief by profession, name of Norman Gorman. He knew me, too, but he didn't give me a tumble. I fell into step with him.
Sea air. Nothing like it, am I right?
Yeah, I guess it's okay, but there's so much of it.
Brisk bracing, salt spray. Nothing like it. Oh, yes, of course. Hey, Norman, my lad.
I hate it. I hate boats. Suppose there was a fire on board.
Fire? Oh, ridiculous. This your first voyage to the Orient?
Yeah.
The inscrutable East.
You've made this trip before?
Oh, yes, indeed. I've worked this line. Yes, indeed. I make this voyage very often. Business interest out in India. Tea, you know. Runs in my family. Sturgis's Golden Orient in the little yellow package. Ever tried it?
No, I never indulged.
Huh? Don't drink tea. That's ridiculous.
Commodore, I need a drink. I ain't happy. Suppose there was a fire on board here.
Well, let's all have a drink.
Yeah, suppose there was
Shall
a
we?
fire.
Come on, I'll shot you to a drink, sir.
Not me, Commodore. I just remember this is Fire Prevention Week. The nearest fire alarm to Brodnick's stateroom was on the companionway leading to the A-deck corridor. It was a glass-enclosed box with a small hammer hanging on a chain. I broke the glass and turned the key. In 3 seconds flat, the entire population of A-deck were shoving each other up the companionway, grabbing for life preservers as they went. The steward hammered on the door of stateroom 12, opened it, shouted inside, and Brodnick and Constance reluctantly came out. I ducked inside, grabbed the handle of the trunk, and started dragging it. When I got it into my stateroom, I broke the lock and lifted the lid. It was Marcia, all right. There was just time to see that before the stateroom door flew open and the ship's officer stuck his head in.
I didn't move at you. Didn't you hear the alarm?
Why, no, I didn't. What's wrong?
Never mind that. Here, take this life preserver. Get going now.
Okay,
Come on.
okay, don't touch me. It makes me nervous. 20 minutes later, the captain announced to the mob up on the deck that it was a false alarm, and the passengers drifted back to their cabins. I tried to look casual as I unlocked my stateroom door and walked in. Then I stopped trying. The trunk was still there, but the lid was standing open, and it was empty. I went down to B deck and found the cabin occupied by Norm and the Commodore. That door was locked, so I kicked it in. You could still see the marks on her wrists and ankles where the cord had been. It was the girl I had seen in the trunk. It was Marcia Hopkins, and she was very much alive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was... Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You've got to help me, Sam.
Why should I help you?
He's crazy. They're both crazy.
It all depends on who's in the trunk, doesn't it, Marcia? When it was Constance, you didn't think he was so crazy.
Oh, don't you understand? I had to pretend that I'd help him. He was going to kill her right there in the hotel room. I told him it was too dangerous. If anybody looked in the trunk, it would be safer if she was in there alive. So he finally agreed and said he'd wait until we got out to sea to kill her. And then he was going
I know about that.
Oh, the idea was so awful, I couldn't stand it. I started to scream, and then he stuffed the gag in my mouth and tied me up. He must have used chloroform or something, because the next thing I knew, I was in the trunk. And that little dark man was leaning over me. He and that old man with the knickers. They brought me here.
So they pulled a switch on you. You were the fall gal all along.
Oh, you've got to believe me. It was the only way I could save her life. You're the only one I can turn to, Sam. That little thief and the old man, they'd deliver me dead if there was an extra $25 in it. Oh, say you'll help me, Sam. Please say it.
When you ask me like that, what else can I say?
Oh, you do believe me, darling. You do believe me.
Come on, let's get out of here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spade. Please step back inside. I promised my associate, Mr. Gorman, that I would not allow this young lady to risk her life by leaving this cabin.
You're getting into this caper at the wrong end, Commodore. It's wound up. They've bungled it. It's no good anymore.
You may be right. But you understand my position, sir. I can't take any chances. You've talked to Mr. Gorman?
Norm? Yeah, I talked to him.
He took you into his confidence?
Stop making with the pistol, Commodore. You don't know how to use it anyway.
Well, heavens, Norm. You're as white as a sheet. What is it?
Oh, he's sick. Go get a doctor.
Yes, indeed. Right away.
Listen, Spade. Take her with you. Get out of here. I don't want no part of this.
You got it bad, Norm.
I'm sick, I tell you. The way I had it sized, this was a clean caper, a snatch. I figured the dame here's an heiress or something. Maybe they drop her off in L.A., connect some ransom, and go on. I figured there was enough for all of us. Oh, but that creep, that Rodnick, he's crazy. He's a regular Jack the Ripper.
Stop babbling, Norm. Tell me what happened, exactly what happened.
I get a sinking feeling in my stomach every time I think about it. Well, I go in, see? He's very smooth, very businesslike. He offers me a drink. I accept it. He mixes a couple of highballs for me and the dame, then he starts talking. I guess she don't know all about it before this, because she gets just sick as I do. First, I think he's kidding. Then he drags out this set of cutlery like a doctor uses to operate on people. Only he's got something else in mind. The porthole, you understand?
Oh, please. I don't want to hear anymore.
Being as it's you he has in mind, I don't blame you. My stomach.
Hey, Norm. Norm.
Oh. Here he is, the ship's surgeon. Oh, dear me. What?
Stand away from him, please. Help me get him into the bunk.
Sure, Doctor.
Take the shade off that light, please. Yes.
He's dead, isn't he?
Oh, yes, he's dead, of course. Who poisoned him?
I didn't waste any time answering him. I grabbed him by the arm. Before he could object, I was pushing him up the companionway to A deck. It was probably too late to save Constance's life if she'd drunk the same poison, and I was pretty sure she had, but if I was going to nail him for the murder of Constance, I had to get there before the evidence vanished. We got there just in time. I don't need to tell you what we saw, and I'd rather not. Brodnick rose slowly to his feet, clicked his heels military fashion, and bowed very low.
The ship's surgeon. How opportune. Perhaps you could advise me, Doctor. After all, I am, in all honesty, even still, a mere amateur at this sort of thing.
After Brodnick had been taken into custody, we took another turn around the deck. It was daylight, and the ship was lying to off San Pedro. This time, the fresh air really felt good, and so did Marcia.
It's all over, Sam.
Yes, sweetheart, it's all over.
But not between us. Say it, Sam. Say it's not all over between us.
How can it be?
I knew it. I knew you felt the same way. All my life before, it's been like a terrible nightmare. It never really happened.
But it did happen, sweetheart.
Oh, but you can forget it, darling, can't you? Please forget it.
I'd like to, Marcia. I really would.
Hold me close, Sam. Never let me go.
You're beautiful.
Is that all, Sam? Nothing else?
Yeah, lots else. That's why I think we better say goodbye right now. Because when I feel like this, I get foolish. And if I get foolish with you, I'm likely to wake up in a trunk someplace. And that, Mr. Fogg, is the true account of the Calcutta trunk caper. As my voyage was interrupted through no fault of my own, I trust you will advise your company to refund my passage minus the one-way trip to San Pedro. Period, and a report.
Sam Spade is played by Howard Duck.
Drink Folgers, it's the coffee mountain grown. It is richer, makes more cups than any you have known. It's fresher, always fresher, because it's vacuum packed. You get all the flavor you pay for, that's that.
That's Folgers Coffee, your best coffee buy. Palmolive Soap, Your Beauty Hope, and Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous, caressable hair bring you Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. Our Miss Brooks teaches English at Madison High School. And like most other teachers, she tries to stay on the best of terms with her principal, Mr. Osgood Conklin.
This isn't always easy. You see, Mr. Conklin has high blood pressure, and it's wise to take him with a grain of salt. Of course, it's wiser not to take him at all. Anyway, on Thursday, he gave me a little honorary assignment to take care of on my own time, which consisted of a report he had to submit to the school board. I was to rephrase, punctuate, and proofread the 25 pages by morning. And sure enough, I got it all done by morning. In fact, when Mrs. Davis, my landlady, awakened me, I had been sleeping like a baby for over 20 minutes.
All upset, dear. What's the trouble? Nightmare?
No, daymare. I was up all night with some extra work Mr. Conklin gave me.
Oh. Well, I guess you can use the extra money that goes with it.
Money? What money?
Surely there must be some compensation for working away from the school.
Oh, there is, Mrs. Davis. The satisfaction of a job well done, the thrill of helping my colleagues in their time of need, and the gratification that comes with the knowledge that I've assisted my superior officer on the battlefield of life. And you know something else, Mrs. Davis?
What, Connie?
The next time I work at home, it'll cost him a fin.
Well, remember this, dear. Money won't buy back your health and good looks once they've gone. If I were you, I'd flatly refuse to do any extra work at all.
Oh, but I can't do that. Mr. Conklin's my principal.
That doesn't give him the license to make a beast of burden out of you. Why, for 2 cents, I'd advise you to quit.
And if I had 2 cents, I'd take your advice. No, Mrs. Davis, even a beast of burden has to earn oat money.
Well, hurry with your shower, Connie. I've got a nice breakfast all planned for you.
Oh, I won't have time for breakfast today, Mrs. Davis. Walter Denton's taking me to school in his car so I can get this report to Mr. Conklin.
What's the matter with your car, Connie?
I had a little trouble with the steering wheel.
What kind of trouble?
It came off. It's nice of you to give me this lift today, Walter. And I'd like to compliment you on your promptness, too. You were right on time.
Oh, punctuality's a mania with me, Miss Brooks. Besides, if I wasn't on time, you'd let some other kid pick you up. Like I always say, the early bird catches the worm.
Well, like I always say to the other worms, let's get some men and go fishing.
Confidentially, Miss Brooks, you look like you could use a little help. You seem bushed. Frankly, I think you're work-happy, Miss Brooks.
Work-happy?
Yeah. What did you do last night after you got home from school?
I worked on a report for Mr. Conklin.
Aha, I knew it. Mr. Conklin shouldn't give you extra things to do.
Why don't you tell him about it, Walter?
Oh, I'm not kidding, Miss Brooks. If you let him, Mr. Conklin will make a beast of burden out of you. You gotta put your foot down.
I may put all 4 of them down.
But I've been reading in the papers that there's quite a shortage of good teachers. You don't have to tow-cow to anybody.
I don't have to what, Walter?
Tow-cow. It's Chinese slang for polishing the apple.
Well, Walter, I don't tow-cow to Mr. Conklin. It's just that he's my principal, and
Excuse me, Miss Brooks, but he's only your principal at school. After hours, he's just... before I quote what I'm going to quote, I'd like to make a prior statement.
Proceed.
Well, any remark I make now is merely something I overheard in my daily contact with other members of the student body and does not necessarily reflect the opinion of the repeating eavesdropper.
Well, repeat away, eavesdropper.
I've heard sundry other pupils refer to Mr. Conklin as... Like I said, Miss Brooks, this isn't necessarily my opinion of him.
You've made that very clear, Walter.
Yeah, good. Well, some of the kids have spoken of Mr. Conklin as... After all, I go with his daughter, Harriet, you know.
Yes, I know.
It might not be the right thing to do to talk about my father-in-law.
Walter, you're not married yet.
Well, that's right, too. Well, I've heard him called it... Gee, I wouldn't want Harriet to know about this.
My lips are sealed, Walter. Now go on.
Okay. Now, Mr. Conklin, in the eyes of some of the undergraduates at this high school, is nothing but a... Gosh, if I was Harriet's father and he was going to marry Harriet, I wouldn't want him to go repeating things about me. Then again, he'd probably be the first one to do it. Sure he would. So I'll tell.
Tell.
A kid in the cafeteria called Mr. Conklin a big inflated bag of ego. There, I said it.
Give that boy a new Nash and a pair of pajamas to drive it in.
You won't ever mention my mentioning this, will you, Miss Brooks?
Oh, of course not, Walter. I wouldn't even want anyone to hear me thinking it. Mr. Conklin may be rather a disciplinarian, but he does have quite a job on his hands, too. Running a high school these days is difficult work. Now, just between you and me, Walter.
Yes?
How would you go about deflating a big bag of ego?
Well, the first thing I'd do is not let him think I was afraid of my job. I'd walk in with whatever work I'd done for him last night, throw it on his desk, and say, there you are. That's the last work I do outside of my regular school duties. Take it or leave it, Buster.
Well, that sounds like sterling advice, Walter, but there's just one more thing I'd like to ask you.
What's that, Miss Brooks?
If Buster decides to leave it...
Yeah?
Where's the nearest local of the Beasts of Burden Union?
Now then, Harriet, I want the furniture in this office to be absolutely glistening.
But, Daddy, it's as neat as a pin now.
Harriet Conklin, when your father and principal asks you to polish something, grab a dust rag, girl.
Why, Daddy?
Because Mr. Jason Brill, the principal of Clay City High School, is paying me a visit. You know how sarcastic and critical he can be.
But why is he coming to Madison?
Well, I'm not positive, Harriet, but I think the old pirate is here to raid one of my teachers. It's a deplorable practice, but he stole a Spanish teacher right from under the nose of Colton's principal.
But, Daddy, didn't you get our new math teacher, Mr. Fain, away from Clay City?
That, Harriet, is just a rumor. Mr. Fain came to Madison of his own free will.
You mean he joined our faculty before you gave him your own study at home to sleep in, and promised him your car whenever he wanted it, and told him about having all his meals with us free of charge and 2 movies a week thrown in?
Consider the subject closed. Now, if that Brill thinks he can sneak in here like a thief in the night
I
and
beg
rob...
your pardon.
What it is?
Just call me Kettle. I'm the kettle that was being called black by that pot over there.
Now, see here, Brill. I won't... Oh, excuse me. That will be all, Harriet.
Yes, Daddy. Goodbye, Mr. Brill.
Goodbye, Harriet. Poor girl.
What do you mean, poor girl? If you've come here to get my goat, Jason Brill,
on the contrary, Osgood. It's not a goat I'm after. It's an English teacher I've got my eye on.
An English teacher?
This is war, Osgood. But remember, you cross my frontier first.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about Mr. Fain, a good, if flighty math teacher. Okay, you've got Fain, but I'm going to get the best English teacher at Madison, Miss Constance Brooks.
Miss Brooks? But what made you pick her out?
I'm attracted to her syntax.
Very interesting, Brill, but an altogether impossible task. Why should Miss Brooks want to work for any other principal when she's used to the benevolent, tender, warm-hearted guidance of a person like myself?
That's one of the things I'm depending on. Another one is a secret weapon, Osgood. You'll find out all about it when it's too late.
Secret weapon? What secret weapon?
It's a secret, Osgood. But believe me, it's going to work.
Jason, you're being absolutely childish. There isn't the remotest possibility of Miss Brooks making any such ridiculous change as you suggest.
There isn't, Dad.
No, there isn't.
Hey, look, Osgood, I don't want to be an old I told you so. But that's just what they said right before Jack Benny switched to CBS.
Come in.
There you are, Mr. Conklin. That's the last work I do outside of my regular duties.
Miss Brooks.
That's it. Take it or leave it, Buster.
They've gotten to her. Come here, Miss Brooks. Sit down by my desk, if you please.
What? Oh, but I've got a class soon, Mr. Conklin.
That can wait. You've been working too hard lately, Miss Brooks.
I have? That is, sure I have.
I don't like it, you hear? I don't like it one bit.
You don't?
We here at Madison don't want our teachers to overwork. After all, you're an educator, a person of intellect and perception, not a
beast of burden?
Exactly. Look about you, Miss Brooks. The walls of this office. That picture hanging there of Madison's first principal, Yoda Critch.
He certainly was.
There's more to a school than the people in it. There's tradition. A tradition of loyalty and industry, good fellowship and cooperation, but mostly loyalty. Why, when I think of our school song, it brings a lump to my throat. Oh, Madison, thou Madison, I love the air, thou...
Madison?
Thou Madison. Miss Brooks, come with me to the window. These hallowed walls, this lovely ivy-covered exterior. Do you know the significance of this venerable and beloved ivy, Miss Brooks?
Why, no, I don't, Mr. Conklin.
Here, I'll raise the window.
Here, let me help you.
It's caught in that scummy ivy. There we are. Now look, Miss Brooks. Look at this beautiful campus. As far as the eye can see, green grass. Now, there's one thing I want you to do before you do anything else.
No.
What?
No, I won't do it.
Won't do what?
I absolutely refuse to mow that lawn.
Starring Eve Arden will continue in just a moment, but first, here is Vern Smith. The makers of Palmolive soap are giving away $100,000 in prizes. First prize, $49,000, plus over 4,900 other cash prizes in the Big 49 Gold Rush Contest. Hundreds will strike it rich in this exciting Gold Rush Contest. One of them may be you. It's easy to enter. Just finish this sentence in 25 additional words or less. I like Palmolive soap because. That's all. Just 25 words or less to finish the sentence, I like Palmolive soap because. Then mail your entry right away along with a Palmolive soap wrapper. Try for your share of that $100,000 in prizes right now. Your chance of winning $49,000 is as good as anyone's. Get entry blank with complete rules from your dealer or write your completed sentence on plain paper. Include your name and address and dealer's name and address. Mail with one Palmolive soap wrapper for each entry to Gold Rush Contest, Box 49, New York 8, New York. You better write that down. Gold Rush Contest, Box 49, New York 8, New York. Enter as often as you like, including one wrapper with each entry. But hurry, the contest closes a week from next Saturday. Mail your entry right away. Get Palmolive soap right away to help win a lovelier complexion. And try for your share of the $100,000 in cash prizes.
Well, Mr. Conklin not only canceled all extracurricular work for me, but as we stood by the window looking across the campus, he actually bent over backwards to be courteous and sweet. Of course, he didn't bend over quite far enough. But it was a surprise to see him acting so human. Although I couldn't understand the reason for this unaccustomed solicitude, I didn't let it spoil my appetite. When lunch period arrived, I was in the school cafeteria with our bashful biologist, Mr. Philip Boynton.
Here we are. You sit right down, Miss Brooks.
Oh, thanks.
Have you got everything?
Modesty forbids a direct answer. Oh, you mean on my tray? Yes, I'm all set, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, good. How do you like what they're serving in the cafeteria these days, Miss Brooks?
Well, it'll never replace food, but it's improving. It isn't what you eat in a place that's important anyway. It's with whom.
What's with whom?
With whom you eat with. Whom. Or as I once heard another English teacher say, what's with you?
Oh, you're teasing me again, Miss Brooks, but I'm getting kind of used to it. I catch on much faster now than I used to, don't you think?
Oh, yes, you're really gone, Mr. Boynton.
Not till I finish my meatballs. That's another one of those colloquial expressions, isn't it? Gone. I wonder what the derivation actually is. How a simple expression like the past tense of go could assume the connotation with which it's currently associated seems totally incomprehensible at first glance.
Eat your meatballs, Mr. Boynton, before they get warm again.
Oh, it's Excuse me, Miss Brooks, Mr. Boynton.
Well, it's Harriet Conklin.
Hello, Harriet.
Daddy wants to see you in his office right away, Mr. Boynton, if you don't mind.
And if he does mind?
Oh, please, Miss Brooks. Mr. Conklin wouldn't summon me during my lunch period unless it was something important.
I think it is. Daddy sounded very urgent.
Maybe some of that ivy crawled into his office. You haven't forgotten our date this afternoon, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, no. I'll call for you after school and take you to the zoo. See you at 3, Miss Brooks.
All right, Mr. Boynton.
Mr. Boynton isn't always as romantic as you'd like him to be, is he, Miss Brooks?
No, Harriet, not always. Or ever, for that matter.
Well, maybe it's just as well. You know how Daddy feels about faculty members fraternizing. Not that I think Daddy's right. Sometimes Daddy can be pretty harsh. But then, if Daddy wasn't Daddy, what would he be?
Mammy. I don't know, Harriet.
I'm going up to the steam table and get some lunch, Miss Brooks. Can I bring you anything?
No, thanks. Run along, Harriet.
Okay, Miss Brooks. Poor Miss Brooks. She chases after Mr. Boynton just like Walter Denton runs after me. Oh, I beg your pardon. Why, it's Mr. Brill.
Oh, hello, Harriet. This is Mr. Hastings. Harvey, this is Osgood Conklin's daughter, Harriet.
How do you do, my dear? It's always a pleasure to meet a member of Madison's undergraduate body, especially such a charming and lovely one as yourself.
Why, thank you, Mr. Hastings. Golly.
Mr. Hastings and I were just talking, Harriet. We'll excuse you if you want to get to the steam table.
Huh? Oh, yes, Mr. Brill. Will I see you again, Mr. Hastings?
No, I would consider that a very fortuitous circumstance indeed, Harriet.
You would? Golly, I'll hurry with my tray and come back in a minute.
You'd better not walk backwards, Harriet, or you'll... She did. Hastings is marvelous. You've got something that makes women drop whatever they're doing and concentrate on you.
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Brill. I just try to be pleasant to everyone.
Uh-huh. Well, you keep it up. We'll have Connie Brooks in our English department in no time. Yeah, now, look, this is a good chance for you to meet her. She's seated at that table over by the wall, and she's alone. Don't tell her too much right now, but make an appointment for tea. Then we'll really go to work on her.
Well, if you say so, Mr. Brill, but it does seem like a kind of dirty trick with teachers so hard to get nowadays. I think...
Secret weapons don't think. They act. Now, there's Miss Brooks, Hastings. Sick her.
Yes, sir. And when I bring her back and place her at your feet, I expect a whole case of strong heart. Oh, I beg your pardon, Miss Brooks, but may I introduce myself?
What? Yes, I suppose. Well, I'm Constance Brooks.
Yes, I know. My name is Hastings, Harvey Hastings. Are these chairs occupied?
Just the one I'm sitting in. Help yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm not going to be in town very long, Miss Brooks, and I'll have to move rapidly, so may I take you home after school?
That's a little too rapidly. Just who are you, Mr. Hastings?
Well, I'm a sort of a friend of Mr. Conklin's.
He has?
I dropped over today with Mr. Brill.
Oh, the principal of Clay City High. What are you doing here, slumming?
That must be the famous Brooks wit I've heard so much about.
You can stop now. I have.
Seriously, Miss Brooks, I think that your undergraduate body is wonderful.
Mr. Hastings.
No. The kids.
Oh, the kids.
Great bunch. Your faculty's nice, too.
Yes, I still have them all. The teachers.
Miss Brooks, there's one thing I just can't understand. How does a youthful, intelligent, lovely-looking person like yourself happen to be lunching alone?
I beg your pardon?
Didn't you hear what I said, Miss Brooks?
You lost me after youthful.
No, really, I just can't figure it out. All by yourself in this big cafeteria. Oh, a thing like this could never happen at Clay City.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Hastings.
Miss Brooks, I'm writing a book on the teaching of English in our high schools, and I'd certainly like to include an interview with Madison's outstanding authority on the subject.
Oh, an interview. Well, I did have a date this afternoon, but...
Shall we say tea for two at 4?
Well, I guess so, but there's something I can't help thinking.
Oh, what's that, Miss Brooks?
Tea for 2 at 4 will mean zoo for 1 at 3.
And that's why I've summoned you to my office, Mr. Boynton. Jason Brill and his secret weapon must be stopped. You've got to make Miss Brooks stay on at Madison.
But why me, Mr. Conklin? You know how timid I am.
Well, you've got to get over it, boy. You like Miss Brooks, don't you?
Oh, yes, sir, but what about your stand on fraternization?
I've reversed it as of now. Look, Boynton, all you have to do is act the way you really feel. Or better yet, the way you've seen other people act.
What do you mean, Mr. Conklin?
Well, you've seen leading men on the screen, haven't you? Humphrey Bogart in Knock on Any Door, Errol Flynn in Don Juan.
No, sir, I haven't seen those.
Oh, well, what's the last movie you did see?
The last movie I saw was called, I believe it was called Aerosmith. I don't go to movies much, Mr. Conklin. You see, I'm more of a radio fan. I listen to those mystery programs a lot.
Mystery programs, eh? Well, that's just as good. According to my wife and daughter, those private detective fellows are as attractive as any of the movie stars. Now, why don't you act like one of them when Miss Brooks comes around?
Me? Act like a private eye?
Certainly. From what I hear, most of them merely sit behind a desk until some beautiful girl comes in. Then they open the drawer, take a big drink, and then they say, "Come on, babe, we're going on a caper." Whatever that is. Well, I won't take no for an answer, Boynton. You've got to do it.
Well, Mr. Conklin...
It's for Madison, boy. Tell me that you'll try, Boynton. That's all I ask.
All right, Mr. Conklin. I'll try. Come in.
Oh, it's me, Mr. Boynton. I'm glad I caught you before you left school for the day. I won't be able to go to the zoo with you this afternoon. Mr. Boynton, did you hear what I said? What are you doing at that desk?
Park the frame, baby. Stash it. Right there. Now, what's the caper, sweetheart?
The caper?
Now, look, I know the opposition's trying to put the heist on certain persons, but we've got a few angles, too.
Angles?
They can't get away with it, see? Now, we've got them covered like a bubble dancer in Boston, see? And that comes right from Mr. Big, see?
Thank you, Edward G. Robinson.
You've got to stay here, Miss Brooks. You can't leave Madison. I don't know what their secret weapon is, but...
Just a minute. Who are we now, Buck Rogers?
No, it's me, Mr. Boynton. That was just distilled water I drank.
Distilled water?
I don't know what Mr. Brill's planning, but don't you...
Then perhaps I'd better explain it myself. You'll excuse us, I know. The door was open. I believe you've met Mr. Hastings, Miss Brooks.
Oh, yes, I have.
This is Mr. Boynton, Mr. Hastings.
How do you do?
Hello.
We've got to get back to Clay City a little earlier than I'd planned, Miss Brooks, so I'm afraid your interview will have to be postponed.
However, I'm sure that we can take up just where we left off, and we are all together in Clay City, huh?
Clay City?
Yes. As you know, a good teacher is always in demand, Miss Brooks.
Brill, you teacher snatcher. What has he told you, Miss Brooks? Don't listen to him. Don't listen to anybody.
Well, that isn't hard. Nobody's saying anything. What is all this anyway?
Well, Mr. Hastings here is head of the English department at Clay City, Miss Brooks.
Aha! Then he's your secret weapon, huh?
Well, if you want to put it that way, actually, I'm a very simple man.
Yes, you are, in a jet-propelled sort of way.
Now, see here, Brill. I won't have... You can't do it. I'll have you...
Oh, stop puffing, Osgood. You've come to a station. What do you say, Miss Brooks? Would you like to transfer to Clay City?
Transfer? Well, come to think of it, I have been overworking lately. I might consider a transfer at that.
Oh, you can't, Miss Brooks.
Oh, why can't she? Have you got some extra chores she can do without pay?
How about it, Mr. Conklin? Any more extra work?
No, Miss Brooks, none at all.
It's very pleasant at Clay City, Miss Brooks. Say you'll come.
Say you won't.
Which is it, Miss Brooks?
Well, it's quite a problem. But now I'd like to ask a question, Mr. Brill. If I were a biology teacher, would you want me to come to Clay City?
A biology teacher? Well, frankly, no. There's no opening for a biology teacher.
That's all I wanted to know. Good day, gentlemen. I'm remaining at Madison.
Well, we tried. Come on, Hastings.
Goodbye, Miss Brooks.
Ah, good for you, Miss Brooks. Old Madison, thou Madison,
as old as Thomas Addison.
Oh, hallowed halls,
Oh, basketball,
how short the day,
how short the pay.
when we've gray hair at Madison, we'll still be there at Madison.
Hello, Clay City.
Our Miss Brooks returns in just a moment, but first...
Dream girl, beautiful luster cream girl.
Tonight, show him how much lovelier your hair can look after a Luster Cream shampoo. Only Luster Cream brings you Kay Daumit's magic formula blend of secret ingredients plus gentle lanolin. Gives loveliness lather even in hardest water. Glamorizes your hair as you wash it. Luster Cream, not a soap, not a liquid, but a dainty cream shampoo. Leaves hair fragrantly clean, free of loose dandruff, glistening with sheen. Soft, manageable, gives new beauty to all hairdos or permanents. 4-ounce jar, $1. Smaller sizes, either tubes or jars. Tonight, try Luster Cream shampoo and be a
Dream girl, beautiful luster cream girl. You owe your crowning glory to a luster cream shampoo.
And now, once again, here is our Miss Brooks.
Well, Mr. Conklin finally left us all alone in Mr. Boynton's laboratory.
Oh, gosh, Miss Brooks, you sure had me worried.
Were you really afraid I'd leave, Mr. Boynton?
Oh, sure, I couldn't even talk. I was so nervous.
You didn't get much of a chance. But now that we're alone, Mr. Boynton, is there anything else you want to say to me?
Yes, Miss Brooks, there is.
What?
If we don't hurry, we'll be late for the zoo. Where are you going, Miss Brooks? What are you doing at my desk?
Park the frame, baby. You're in for the caper of your life.
Next week, tune into another Our Miss Brooks show brought to you by Palmolive Soap, your beauty hope, and Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous, caressable hair. Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, is produced by Larry Burns, written and directed by Al Lewis, with music by Wilbur Hatch. Mr. Boynton is played by Jeff Chandler. Mr. Conklin by Gail Gordon. Others in tonight's cast were Jane Morgan, Dick Crenna, Gloria McMillan, Gerald Moore, and Frank Nelson.
Men, do you shave with a lather or brushless shave cream? Palmolive shaving cream comes both ways, and whichever way you prefer to shave, you'll find that using either Palmolive brushless or Palmolive lather shaving cream can bring you more comfortable, actually smoother shaves. Here's the proof. 2,548 men tried the new Palmolive way to shave described on the tube. And no matter how they had shaved before, 3 out of every 4 got more comfortable, actually smoother shaves. Get Palmolive brushless or Palmolive lather shaving cream today.
For mystery liberally sprinkled with laughs, listen to Mr. and Mrs. North, the exciting, fun-packed adventures of an amateur detective and his beautiful wife. Tune in Tuesday evenings over most of these same stations. And be with us again next week at this same time for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks. Bob Lamont speaking. Stay tuned now for Life with Luigi, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week. The Columbia Broadcasting System.
Mountain-grown Folgers is a real money saver. Try using less coffee with its extra rich flavor. Count the extra cups and add your savings up with Folgers Coffee Mountain Grown.
Folgers is vacuum packed to keep out flavor-robbing air. Folgers gives you all the flavor you pay for.
there's only one who can play that way.
Who is the man, you say?
Bobby, Bobby B. Don't wait anymore. Starting playing right to the stars. Come on and slide me out a few more bars. Bobby, play the blues. Plays for you.
Oh, listen to the boogie, too.
Of all the cats, it's he I choose. I'd walk the soles right off my shoes just to hear Bobby's trombone
Listen to those bandsmen yelling, listen to that rhythm swelling, and you'll hear the boys rebelling, mutiny on the bandstand. I'll admit the boys are willing, but the music won't sound thrilling till we up and find the villain, mutiny on the bandstand. With rehearsal every day, we used to be so busy, but the music went around and all the boys got dizzy. We'll bring out the brute in us now, though you'll think it's mutin' us now. There is not a toot in us now, mutiny on the bandstand.